John Tyler back again with another how-to video, and this how-to video is for anybody out there that wants to start a business from scratch. The first thing you need, before I get into the strategies here, let me tell you a little bit of my experience. See this gray hair? I earned it. When I was a kid, maybe in my 20s, right after getting out of the Air Force, I decided to go to work for Sears Roebuck after I went to a little tech training school after the Air Force, and I learned TV repair. You say, well, so big deal. I made millions of dollars so far, so let me show you how I did it and how you start with a dream in your head. Every business starts with a dream. You have to have a dream. In my head, I had the dream of just being a TV tech for Sears. So I started working for Sears Roebuck because I passed their test about fix this chassis and so forth and so on. So I was smart enough after a little tech training, and you can do that too, be a plumber, be an electrician, whatever. But that's where you start because you have a head on your shoulders and you're a dreamer. You have to be a dreamer. So I worked for Sears for quite a while in months. I didn't like working for somebody, so that was the second dream I had. I don't like to punch a clock. And if you're opening a business, you won't either. You may work hard, but you're working on your hours and your time. And if you start a store on your own, like I have done, I had 3 retail franchises, by the way, among other things. But let me travel through my business life out of my brain with you for just a moment. So the first thing you need to have is a dream. And whatever, I don't know what your dream is, but whatever it is, it has to include, I don't want to punch a clock. I don't want authority over me, meaning punch a clock. You better be here at work, boy, at 8 o'clock. No, I couldn't do it. I've never, ever since Sears Roebuck way back, I have never, ever punched a clock, never worked for anybody but me. That's what you want. Now, how much money can you make? It depends on your dream, and I've already posted a few other things up there, but let me read them from the script. You have to have a dream, you have to have a desire, you have to be a risk taker, you have to have good credit, you can't be a bum and have lousy credit and open a business. You have to have ambition. You have to have drive, which kind of goes together with ambition. But a lot of people have ambition, but when it comes to actually getting your hands dirty or using your brain to make more money, you don't have the drive. You have to have the drive. You need some capital. When I first started out, obviously as a TV tech, I didn't have much. I owned a home, me and the bank, right? Eventually I owned my own home, like now. And then you have to have a strategy or a plan, because you can't just go out there willy-nilly and say, well, I want to start an aircraft repair business. You can't do it. You have to have all those ingredients. Let me read them again. Dream, desire, risk taker. Your brain has to be have a little gambling mentality embedded in there, because you will be taking a risk. You'll be taking a risk of losing whatever capital you have, because you're told by the media mainly that almost all businesses fail within the first 5 years, right? Well, mine didn't fail because I had the dream, the desire. I was a risk taker. I had good credit. I had ambition. I had drive. I had some capital, and I had strategy. And some capital could be in the form of borrowability, like if you own your home and you've got a lot of equity in it, you can borrow some of that capital and start your business. So your dream has to be, and I have to ask you this question, what is it that you are dreaming about opening for a business? You want to have a store? Do you want to hire an employee? Eventually, with 3 stores, I had 13 employees. So you have to meet payroll and all that stuff. But I didn't get there day one. After the Sears Roebuck thing, I opened a TV repair shop with my brother Vern, who was also kind of a TV tech guy. And we started in one little store, so capital, you have to pay rent for the building. Eventually, I owned a much bigger building, and I owned it, and I bought it. So I'm going to explain to you how I got there to help you get there. Okay, so we opened a small repair center, and then you have to advertise. You have to have, in part of your dream mechanism, you have to see yourself building a logo, building something that people can recognize you by. I got to try to shorten this because I'm usually long-winded, but I want to explain to you how it's done. So we decided we were going to buy a van, which we did, a big white van. And then my brother had the idea, this wasn't even my idea, to go buy a TV set. Back in the day, it was like a tube type TV set and you made out of wood, whatever. So he bought a portable TV set of wood, took the tube out, took all the chassis and stuff out, just had the wood frame left over, and then he made had made out of plastic something that resembled a TV screen. So we cut that thing down to about 4 inches wide from the front working back. 2 of them, by the way, 2 identical TVs, could have been junk that we bought. And in fact, it was. We don't want to destroy a good TV. So anyway, long story short, we molded that TV screen, one in each side of the van. And then we had, at the time it was called A1 television service, in the address and stuff, put on the van. So you have to have the dream. And the dream was, we fix TVs. So we're going to put that on a van and drive it all through our town. That's how you build your business. And by golly, we did, because we were flooded with new business. And we used to guarantee our TV repairs and so forth. So yeah, part of the strategy. If we don't fix it, or if it breaks after we fix it, bring it back in, we'll take care of it. TV repair back then was a piece of cake. I mean, at least for us, we were technical guys. Okay, so then you're not satisfied. Your dream takes over again, and you say, okay, I'm making repairs. I'm making, I don't know, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year, maybe. Back then, that was big money. And so your dream becomes a little bigger. Well, let's just open up a retail center within the repair center, because our shop was out back of this building and we had the whole front of the building. So we decided to go and invest. We called up a local distributor for Zenith, whatever it was, and we said, we'd like to have some TVs of yours in our shop. So they said, okay, we'll finance TVs. How many do you want? And we figured, we'll start out with 20 TVs, whatever it was. So you have to have good credit, remember. So we started out with 20 TVs, consoles, that's the old floor model thing, and then some portable stuff that we put on shelves that we personally built. Drive, ambition, a little knowledge. So then that started out great, and just to shorten that story, your dream gets bigger. You're making more money. And in fact, in that store, we ended up making $1,100,000 a year. So then we got a little more, not greedy, but just the entrepreneurship within us said, okay, let's open another store. So my brother decided he's going to open a store in a town like 20 miles away from my store, which was our store. But we split off, and I became the owner of store A, Vern became the owner of store B, and so the money that I made in my store, I got to keep, and any money he made, he got to keep. Then the dream gets bigger. At the time, there was a big deal on rent-to-own stuff that came about. So we started our own rent-to-own business. Some of the TVs we repaired, and we would buy used TVs. We would rent them out for like $9.95 a week. Well, 52 weeks, that's $520 for a $100 TV that we bought. So you're making money, good money, and then your brain says, oh, let's get some more TVs. So then there was a brand out there. I won't mention it, but the brand was that they would ship you all the TVs you want, and for good credit. So we had good credit. I had good credit in my store. Vern had good credit for his store. And we ordered some TVs to rent out. I must have put, I can't tell you how many hundreds of TVs out in the marketplace. Then your brain kicks in and you say, well, gee, you know, I got this store, but it's kind of too small now. So I branched out to another store that I had enough money and enough good credit to actually buy this huge building on a major Route 1 in a city in Massachusetts. I'll put it to you that way. And I owned it. It was a gas station that I bought, a little tiny building, and I said, that'll be my office. And then I added a huge building that had a first floor and then a basement where we, meaning me and my employees, could work on TVs and sell stuff and store stuff in the back, store rental TVs to put out. Then I branched out from there to rental appliances, anything that people would want to rent, to furniture, washers, dryers, whatever. So you're making a ton of money. And that went on and on and on for 22 years. Then I got kind of, not sick of it, but eventually, you know, like with anything else, you buy a new car and 3 months later, it's a piece of crap. But when you first bought it, it was great, right? So I was making the money, everything was good, and then I ended up selling my building to a guy, and I made a ton of money on that. So the next thing I decided I wanted to do was just have just me. Again, I ended up with 3 stores of my own, and I had 13 employees. But then after a while, why you get a little brain dead is the employees, you know, I'm not making enough money. You know, how come she got this and I didn't get, you're a babysitter. So I said, well, okay, I'm good at selling. That was my forte, if you will. This brain and your brain can make you a lot of money if you know what your strategy is. So my strategy was, I think I'm going to delve into real estate. So I went to a real estate agency, a very large one, and I said, I don't have a license, and that person, but I can sell. And I convinced that broker that I could sell. I must have sold well because I sold him on the idea. Actually, it was a her at the time, and then she sold out to a him. But anyway, that lady said, John, I'll send you to school and go get your license. So I went to school, which was nothing. It was a 12-session video training thing. Then I went to get my license. I passed the test with flying colors. I think I got 2 wrong on a test. They handed me my real estate license, and get this, my first month in real estate, I made $8,000. My first month. Knowing nothing other than I had a license to sell. But sell is what I did. So you have to be able to talk with people and your customers. I don't care what business you're in. You've got to treat that customer like they're your blood relative. You want to take care of them. They're going to tick you off now and then, but you have to be cool and just say, well, this is business and the customer is always right. I'm going to help them to solve their problem, which was all real estate was about. I was really a menu taker. I would show a home. I gotta try to shorten this again, but it's it's trying to give you some ideas of how I think, and maybe you'll think that way. So I would show a home, and then you become a psychologist. Any salesperson is really a psychologist because you get to read people's eyes, you get to read their body language, and if they didn't like the house, I knew that within the first 3 minutes of showing them the house. So then I would refine it. I would talk to that person and say, okay, out of this house, what did you like? What did you not like? Then out of that, I would formulate my next batch of showings, and stupid phone's going off. My next batch of showings, and I would have refined that down to where I knew they were going to pick one of the three. So I would show them the three homes. And again, being a menu taker mentally, I said, okay, but reading the signs in their eyes and their body motions, I knew that the United States Army could not pull this person and or his wife and kids out of this particular house. So I already knew I had a sale. So if I sold a house, some of them I sold, and I got a commission of $20,000 on one house. That's big money. So I was making, doing real estate, $185,000 a year of mine. I then took on a partner, and we together each made $185,000 a year. So it grew and it grew and it grew. Then your brain's still working. This is how you make your millions. My brain was still working. I was making plenty of money selling real estate. So then I decided, well, I'm going to buy a couple of houses. I mean, I can buy them cheap. And I know how to manipulate the other realtors and the seller into selling me a house for cheap that needed work. But I was aggressive. I was ambitious. I had the drive. And I had plenty of time. I mean, you're not selling houses every hour of the day. So I would buy the house using finance money, 10% down, whatever it was. I would buy the house and flip it. I ended up flipping two houses a year for an average of $75,000 a piece. So now I got $150,000 a year on top of my 185. Then you seize opportunities. When the opportunity goes knocking, you open that door. And an opportunity came about where for $5,000, and I used a credit card to do this. But long story short, I ended up buying 5 lots of land because the guy was in trouble, and he owed $350,000 on it. But it was a lot of land. One of them was 150 acres of land. So I said, okay, will you take the $5,000? Sign the paper. And he did. That was an opportunity. I then went to a builder, developer, if you will, and I said, look, I got 150 acres here, an acre over there, 40 acres over here on a lake, blah, blah, blah. So he shocked me. He offered me $1.8 million to buy the 150 acre piece. So you see, using this, the dream, the desire, the ambition, the drive, some capital and strategy, the sky is in fact the limit. So that's where you have to start it out with a dream. On the 40 acre piece on the lake, I ended up building a 4,400 square foot house on the 40 acres. My driveway was all blacktop from the street, and it was 2,600 feet off the road, way up in the woods, overlooking the lake. And then I sold another piece for $60,000, a 1 acre piece, another 1 acre piece to an in-law for $60,000. So that's how you do it. You just keep dreaming, you keep strategizing, you keep getting better at what you do. In other words, more educated. You hang with people who are more educated than you in the business that you want to get into. I don't know what you call that, schmoozing, or they had a term for it back in my day, whatever. So that's how you do it. But every business starts with a dream. with that, if you got any questions or if you have any comments, don't be a wise guy. Then put them down below here in the remarks column, and I'll see you next time.